Welcome everybody to a very exciting episode, mainly because it's the first one. I'm very excited about launching this podcast and getting this out. A lot of things have led to the making of this podcast. I'm very excited to share it with the world. So let me start off by telling you about the purpose of this podcast. The Unbanked to me is a community or society in a sense that I'm trying to build. I feel that there are a lot of people that can resonate with it. In fact, 1 of 4 Americans don't even have bank accounts. But let's zoom out a little bit more. Think of it more from a global perspective. 1.7 billion people around the world don't even have access to bank accounts, and that is a major problem. I believe that the banking system should be something that's a public good, should be something that's free and easily accessible to everybody worldwide, and for those same dollars that we're putting into bank accounts, it should be equal opportunity when it's time to lend and fund different businesses, because those funds may not go to individuals who look like you, and that's problem number 2. There is lack of transparency and accountability when it comes down to who those dollars get invested with. But listen, do not take my word for it. I want you to go online and just look at the stats. There's a saying in crypto that always goes around, and you may hear this phrase time and time again that says, don't trust, but verify. And I want you to be reminded of that. So I just want you to check the stats. I mean, you can even take a look at JP Morgan, or you can honestly look at any banking institution. The result is going to be the same. For this example though, I'm going to be using Chase Bank. They had about $1.3 trillion, and yes, that's T, trillion, in customer deposits. When you see that large amount of assets under management, you have to think, how much of that $1.3 trillion is going back to businesses that look like you? Crypto has the ability to change that. You zoom out and you start thinking more from a globalist perspective, and you start talking to people from different countries, and you really start to figure out why people don't have bank accounts, let's say in Africa or in Mexico or in Haiti. The more and more you ask, the more and more you hear the same exact answer over and over that always seems to be popping up. They either, 1, don't trust their banking system, 2, they don't have enough money to meet minimum deposits, 3, they want to stay completely anonymous, or 4, they just don't trust their local government. Literally all the same answers. And when it comes down to it, it all boils down to a few things. They want trust, they want to remain anonymous, and they want transparency in where their dollars go. Crypto literally has the ability to solve all of that. For those of us living in the United States and are supporting families in different countries, think about the difficult process it is to send them funds and all the fees that get taken out just trying to do something as simple as sending your family members some money in a different country. I mean, it's crazy. You should be able to send somebody money with no middleman involved. I mean, really just think about it. How much value does banks have when you're trying to send money from point A to point B, yet they still take fees? And not only banking systems, just any company where you exchange 2 different currencies. And yet again, crypto can solve that. The only problem that I see that's left is access. And I'm not talking about access to capital, because that's been a problem that we've been trying to fight for decades. I'm talking about access to information, and that is something that I hope this podcast and many other podcasts and other sources help you with. So welcome. I am very excited to have you on this journey to be a part of the Unbanked. But let's learn about me, Jeff Lubin, your host. Jumping into a little bit about me, I always like to describe it as my past life, even though I'm fairly young, because before I got into crypto, I was a former football player. I played throughout high school. I was granted the opportunity to play on a scholarship at the Division I level. I want to say I really stopped playing once COVID really started picking up. I wasn't really passionate about the game as I once was. And with COVID going on, really nobody knew what was going to happen to the world. It seems like everything just almost just shut off. So they gave everybody the opportunity to opt out for a particular season, and I chose to exercise that right. So now I go from being a football player, and now I'm not playing at all, and I have to figure out what's next. So I picked up a job at Target. I ended up lasting there for a good, I want to say 2 to 3 weeks. You know, that first week was extremely exciting because, you know, it was my first job, and everybody's always geeked about their first job. But to be honest, it didn't really take me long to realize that this was not for me. Like, I vividly remember waking up at 5 a.m. to go in and change price tags, you know, around the store. And once I did that, I knew that this wasn't really going to do it for me. I knew that I needed something a little bit more fulfilling, so I quit. And what do people do when they quit their job? They most likely go on Google and they search, how in the hell do I get rich? Or more importantly, they try to find ways to get rich in less than 30 days, because it obviously has to happen overnight for it to work. To be clear though, I am speaking from experience because I actually did this. As I was going through my research, I got addicted to one particular show, and that show was $1 Million Listings, specifically the LA version. I just couldn't stop watching it, and it really piqued my interest on real estate. So I made the decision to become a real estate agent, because obviously I'm gonna be making these super juicy profits on these mansions, selling these super expensive homes. I see people on TV doing it. You know, how hard can it be, right? It's not gonna be that hard. Well, that was wrong, because at the time I was living in Ohio. You know, the housing value in Ohio don't really match up to the housing value of Los Angeles, not even including the connections and everything else that goes into being a real estate agent. Once I found out that I crossed out real estate agent off my list, because if I was gonna do it, I wanted to sell the same homes that I seen on TV immediately, right? And I know that's the wrong way of thinking, but that's just my thought process. Real estate for me was one of those industries where it's not get rich quick, but it's get rich for sure. So I knew I wanted to be in real estate. I knew I wanted to be in that industry, in that space. I just didn't want to be an agent. So I started scrolling on YouTube, just watching different YouTube videos, and I came across one individual by the name of Max Maxwell, who said, here's how you can get into real estate with no money, no credit. You know, once he said that, I was like, man, this is perfect because I'm still in college, I don't have any money, and I don't have any credit. So I thought this was definitely the way for me. And for those who don't know who Max Maxwell is, he's basically the pioneer for individuals on a real estate concept called wholesaling. He was the first person I seen posting about it. So he really changed the game for me and a lot of other individuals who went down that path. So I started going down that rabbit hole, watching his videos, looking into this new concept. And I want to say March of 2020 is when I officially got started taking action on the information that I learned. So I started marketing, ended up getting my first deal really quickly, and my first check was about $1,500. And I remember because the title company ended up sending a check to my apartment weeks later, and I waited by my window all day for this mailman to come. And I was so excited because in my head, I'm thinking, man, this is something that I learned on YouTube. And once I get this check in my hand, I know that this is really real. You know, I can do something with this. Fast forward on my real estate journey, I did a couple more deals. After my first couple of deals, I ended up getting another real estate mentor by the name of Pace Morby. He really changed a lot for me. You know, he taught me everything I know about creative financing, taught me about estate planning, taught me how to structure and save on my taxes. He really paved the way for me right now. And that's why I always advise people, whatever industry that they're in, definitely find a mentor, because it's easier to pay and skip the line rather than, you know, you learning from your own mistakes. Learn from the mistakes of others. So throughout my journey of real estate, I touched single family deals, I touched multifamily deals. And in college, I was studying sales and marketing, so that was a plus as well. So here I am in college, I have an actual real estate business while all this is happening. So I'm in class signing documents virtually. When we had online class, I'm not even paying attention to what they got going on over there. You know, I'm taking business calls, I'm talking to sellers, I'm doing a lot. So I want to say during college, I had like 2 full-blown companies. I had a real estate company and I had a virtual staffing agency. You know, when I went down that rabbit hole, I really learned a lot. I learned a lot about systems, about processes, how to build out a team. So I can build out a process, you know, pretty easily and hire a team and put the team in place and follow a set system. You know, at my peak, I want to say I had about 10 to 12 members on my team. While I was doing that as well, one of my former partners and I actually almost completed a whole development project. You know, I was 22, 23 at the time, and we almost got that thing to the finish line. You know, we had plans to build up 28 units from the ground up. It was going to be 2 bed, 1 bath with attached garage. You know, we were making major milestones. You know, we got the plans approved by the city. We had the designs completed by an architect. We had a lot of things in place, man, but things just didn't end up working out. Now, during the same time that I was in real estate, I was also in crypto. So I was definitely doing a lot at that time, and I got introduced to a very good buddy of mine called Burnout. You may know him, you may not. You know, I got my start in crypto when Dogecoin and Shiba really started popping off. So I mean, my start in crypto was, I'm sure, like many others, I got started with meme coins, just gonna be honest. The difference is I didn't stop my learning journey at meme coins. So I really got deep into Ethereum, learning about what makes it unique. I did the same thing for Bitcoin. And I just wanted to learn as much as possible about cryptocurrency, about smart contracts, about DeFi, just about everything, and figure out why do people keep talking about this technology. So I learned about DeFi, learned about smart contracts, which that changed the game for me, and everything just like clicked, you know? So I started applying this technology to real world problems to see how they can really solve things. And throughout my journey, what makes my conviction go even higher and higher is that this is something that people worldwide can utilize. That's why I decided to create this podcast, because I feel like the information needs to be put out there. So that's what I plan to do. I don't want this podcast though to be, you know, the end all be all. I want it to be the start. All the information you hear from me, all the information you hear from all the guests that I have on this podcast, all the different topics. My goal is that I hope it sparks your interest to learn even more about the crypto space, not just meme coins or shit coins like Shiba or Hex, because the thing is, the more people that are into the space, the better. The opportunity right now that I see in crypto is very good. We are still extremely early, so it's best to be ahead of the game than to be left behind, because this is a very fast-paced industry. I mean, things move really quick. We do not want to play around and play the waiting game and wait for things to be easy. We want to be early. We want to be learning the basics, the fundamentals, and applying it to real-world application, because it's needed in this space right now. So I'm going to stop going off on a tangent right now about my backstory and how I got started. We'll be right back after this quick message. Okay, so welcome back. You know, before we wrap things up, I want to to talk about why I started this podcast and some things that I have planned for the podcast, and just go into my roadmap a little bit, because I really want to spread the message about the power of crypto. I want the message to be reached globally, and in order for me to spread that message globally, I need an outlet. I've also been having a hard time meeting individuals in the crypto space, and honestly, having a podcast allows me the opportunity to meet some very interesting individuals in the crypto space. So it gives the opportunity to highlight their project and what cool things they're doing in the space. So I want to create a community of individuals where it's normalized to invest. It's not considered nerdy or bad to invest or learn about how to set up your own node, learn about how to stake your Ethereum from home, how to code. I want these things to be normalized, to be in crypto. We're a community of people that don't have access to bank accounts, teaching them how to get onboarded onto crypto, and they can have access and custody over their own bank accounts. And not only having bank accounts, having a real ownership without having to trade their identity or anything to do so. To be able to have basic banking without having to meet a certain threshold when it comes down to a currency amount. To be able to interact with individuals peer-to-peer without the need of a middleman. Like, there's no need for it. To be able to have control over their family's wealth, be the front runner for this new age technology. Because honestly, I think that crypto is going to change the world in ways we can't even imagine yet. So it's going to be very interesting 10 years from now, 20 years from now. I think that we're going to have a new financial system coming. It's going to come through decentralized finance. We see projects right now changing the game, like Aave, like Compound, like MakerDAO. We have been going through the same systems time and time again for decades. We have seen what happens when you put people in power that shouldn't be. They get eaten up by corruption. They get eaten up by greed. We see what happens with inflation. We've seen all the bad things. In crypto, with smart contracts, there is no corruption. We've seen it time and time again what happens to centralized banking systems like FTX, like Celsius, like BlockFi. Everything has the same result due to greed and corruption. And not only with crypto companies, with regular traditional companies too. I mean, look at what happened in 08. The same thing, greed and corruption. There's a saying in crypto that says, not your keys, not your crypto, meaning if you don't have access to your private keys, it is not considered your crypto. And that's what happened with these crypto exchanges, which is why you see individuals who had their money in FTX or in Celsius, they literally lost everything because they technically did not own those cryptocurrencies. So when centralized exchanges get your deposits, it's very similar to a bank. They go out, they lend your money to people because they are chasing these yields. They're chasing returns to be able to pay you these rewards. What do you think that money's coming from? It's not coming from thin air. So when somebody promises you to pay you 30%, you really got to ask yourself, where the hell is money coming from? And when those people can't pay these loans back, guess who gets left holding the bag? The user. So on your journey to becoming a part of the unbanked, the goal is for you to not have to rely on a central authority to manage your finances, to have custody of your own assets, to invest in investment DAOs instead of traditional companies, because it's going to be an investment that you actually have a say in what's going to happen. And you may not even know what a DAO is just yet, and that's fine. That's what this podcast is for, is to educate you on things like what a DAO is. And I plan on bringing individuals on this podcast to help spread their story and their message, because you may not resonate with my story, or you may not like the way I sound, or whatever it is, but you may resonate with somebody that I bring onto this podcast. So my vision is to eventually, have live events, crypto and tech conferences, not like the traditional conferences where you still play through fiat currency. I want it to be a conference where only, stuff like you pay with crypto or you have to be an NFT holder to get in, because that's where I see the value in, honestly, NFTs. It's through membership. It's through real world utility. So I plan on hosting networking mixers and parties, because it's good to learn, it's good to educate, but something that I've learned is that it's okay to have balance. We plan on buying plots of land in the metaverse to host our headquarters, where the community can come and kick it if they choose to, where there will be events there as well. There will be challenges, there will be Easter eggs, right? So I grew up playing a lot of video games growing up. So I understand how fun it is to find Easter eggs and get rewarded for it. So we're gonna have that. I wanna be able to implement that. I want this to be a hub where people can learn how to actually get jobs in the Web3 space, because that's very important, how they can navigate to earn in the crypto space. I wanna be able to onboard people from Web 2 onto Web 3. I wanna bring on creatives onto this podcast as well, so they can share their stories and their visions, because I'm not an expert on everything. So bringing people who can shine a light on certain topics will be very beneficial, because you may resonate with one of those topics, and that may be your way of getting into crypto, right? So we have a very extensive roadmap on things we plan to accomplish, but it all starts here. All starts with episode 1. So you can honestly expect, 1 episode a week, with the amount always to increase. The goal is to get to 5 or 6, episodes getting pushed out weekly. We're gonna have the newsletter newsletter as well. So you're more than welcome to join the newsletter. So you can expect that from us, right? This podcast is for people who are interested in crypto, who don't have bank accounts. It's for people who want to learn how to have custody over their own assets. It's for people looking to take control into their own hands. It's for people who have, a large amount of capital in crypto already, but it's just sitting. They don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to earn actual yield with it. So not having to rely on anybody else to control their assets. If you live in a country where you can't trust your local banking system or you can't trust your local government, if you're tired of sending payments to family members and watching all the fees get taken out, if you simply just want to learn more about crypto and DeFi, all those reasons means that this podcast is for you. So I'm very, very, very excited about this journey. Yeah, that pretty much wraps up the first episode. Like always, don't be late to the party, join the movement, and become unbanked. And I will see you in the next episode. Peace.